Proper football is back. It's been a long summer without having any competitive football to watch. Keyword is competitive, so not counting the World Cup where we didn't exactly compete. The SPFL is back to give us plenty of joy, or pain. Mainly pain, I'll be honest. It's also the time period where everyone gets their predictions in, and I'm no different. So, once again, I'll be predicting Tier 5 up to the Premiership, and try to not embarrass myself with some of the things I say. Tier 5 is now split into 3 leagues, with the Lowland League splitting into East and West, while the Highland League is remaining the same. Sticking with just the league winners then, I have Brora winning the Highland League, Linlithgow Rose winning the East, and Clydebank winning the West. Might seem pretty basic going with what were effectively the same winners as last year, but Brora are still claiming they want to make the SPFL, and with Brecon gone, I'm not sure who will challenge them. Maybe Clacknacudden can challenge here and there, but they're not going to have a final day showdown or anything this time around. These, however, will be the second War of the Roses, as Linlithgow and Bonnyrigg fight it out. People may suggest Brecon, but I think they'll fall in that bracket just below title challengers. Clydebank were by far and away the best team in the West last season when it comes to the Tier 5 teams, but of course, Troon, Auchinleck, Cumnock and others have come up this year, so providing a challenge to their crown will be fun to watch. We should also get a playoff this year, as most clubs will be close to getting a bronze licence, with the people in charge of the Lowland League running their own committee that oversees the licensing progress of their member clubs, so that we don't have another Linlithgow Rose situation. So, in that case, I want to say Clydebank will come out on top in these playoffs and get promoted into the SPFL. On to League 2 then, where I will be basing this on League Cup campaign and vibes because I don't really know anything about this division. At least I'm honest. Winning the league, I have the Spartans, followed by Stirling, Kelty, Edinburgh City, Clyde, Dumbarton, Forfar, Elgin, Stranraer, and Annan finishing bottom and getting relegated. Spartans have been at the top end for a while now, and I think this will be their chance to finally get up into League 1. Stirling will be much improved with signings such as Josh Mullin and Lucas Fife. Kelty will be looking to get back into League 1 following a pretty dismal campaign last time around. Edinburgh City and Clyde both had impressive League Cup campaigns. Dumbarton will be looking for a solid season after a few years of turmoil, while Forfar, Elgin, Stranraer and Annan will just sort of be there at the bottom end, with Annan having the worst League Cup campaign if you want to just go off the tables. League 1, meanwhile, is probably the most competitive league in the country this season, with 4 teams being reasonable shouts for the title and a further 3 looking like playoff contenders. Going from top to bottom though, I have Ross County coming out on top, followed by Hamilton Accies, East Kilbride, Airdrie, Montrose, Alloa, Queen of the South, East Fife, Cove Rangers and Peterhead. County are coming off back-to-back relegations, but surely this time around they have a squad too good to fail. Accies would have finished second last season if not for one of the most symbolic seasons we have ever witnessed, but have recruited well this summer under new owners. East Kilbride again looked impressive in the League Cup and looked likely to be the best of the part-time teams. Airdrie will be rounding up the playoffs, squeaking in ahead of Montrose, who themselves had an impressive cup campaign. Alloa and Queen of the South will be fine alongside East Fife, who also performed well in the cup. Cove will be ninth but should stay up, while Peterhead will be victims of circumstance and finish bottom. Onto the Championship, where hopefully before this video comes out, the Salmon's Pizzeria Championship Penitentiary, hosted by yours truly, will have a full review that goes a lot more in depth than I will go in this video. I'm still going a bit more in depth for this section though, and will be starting from the bottom, with a team that I believe will drop down to League 1 this season, Greenock Morton. I know I said Annan had the worst League Cup campaign according to the tables, but performance-wise it has to be Morton. They were the only team to fail to score a goal, they lost all 4 games including to Lowland League side Linlithgow Rose with no shots on target. Their starting goalkeeper was the backup for Clyde last season. They don't have the money to improve the squad for a few months. They have already put out a club update that basically confirms that they are in big trouble for the season ahead. Morton are finishing bottom and will more than likely end up being the subject of a video on this channel. In 9th and getting relegated through the playoffs, I have gone with Stenosmuir. Whilst they did manage to top their group containing Partick and Livingston, over a full league campaign I just don't think they'll do much. Marvin Bartley is coming as a replacement for Gary Naismith, and my fear is that with the loss of Naismith, it'll be like when you leave a team on Football Manager after bringing them up a few divisions and they just start to plummet back down. I don't think it'll be that bad, but I just don't see them staying up, unfortunately. In 8th place then, I have gone with Arbroath. The league's biggest overachievers last time around, they were mostly helped by an incredible first half of a season before their second half was just okay. Their squad is a bit weaker this time around with the departure of Finlay Marshall, who was instrumental to their good form. They'll be fine in 8th, not quite being in a relegation scrap, but they're not going to be challenging for playoffs this time around. Up to 7th, I have Inverness Caledonian Thistle. Inverness come up as League One champions and have managed to retain the services of Alfie Babbage and Alfie Stewart, along with adding Miller Keir from Turriff United, who was the top scorer of the Highland League last season, scoring 28 goals in 33 games at just 19 years old, so he will be one to look out for. While other teams who have come up from League One have gone on to reach the playoffs, however, I just don't think the quality is there for a playoff push, but they should be comfortably mid-table at least this season. 6th now, and I'm going with Queen's Park. Am I saying this because I got clowned on by the social media admin for saying they'd get relegated? Partially, but Queen's managed to finish a pretty comfortable 6th place in the end last season. Sean Crichton has done an excellent job rebuilding the squad and were denied progression from the League Cup by goal difference. No chance of a relegation scrap here, but maybe a push for the playoffs could be on the cards. Finishing 5th and missing out on the playoffs, I have Raith Rovers. After a massive clear-out and rebuild, I believe we have the most average squad in the division, but from the games that I have watched against Killian Hearts, we have been quite impressive. But from what I have heard from games against Hamilton and Peterhead, we weren't great, so who knows at this point. We also appear to have a bit of an early injury crisis. Defensive reinforcements are looking rather thin at the moment. There is a lot to fix up though, and a playoff push is definitely possible, but I'm not holding out my hopes too much on that happening. If there's one thing I'll guarantee, however, it's that we'll find a way to win the Challenge Cup again. I don't know why we're so good in that competition, but I'm not complaining. Taking up the last playoff spot, I have Ayr United. A perfect League Cup group stage, Gary Naismith as the new manager, permanent signings of Leon King, Luke Macbeth and Ben Summers, with Harry Stone coming in on loan. Things are looking up for the Honest Men, and I see them returning to the playoffs after a very disappointing season last time around. 3rd place now, and I'm reluctantly going with Dunfermline. Dunfermline managed to get themselves into the playoffs for the first time in 5 years and reached the Scottish Cup final last season, which may lead some people to think of a potential title challenge this time around. I don't think that will happen. They'll be a very comfortable 3rd though, a bit like Arbroath for the first half of last season, but across a full season. Aston Oxford signing on a permanent means that Dunfermline have a competent goalkeeper permanently for probably the first time in forever, along with signing Ollie Shaw to provide firepower up front, which should help them towards a pretty good finish this season. Runners-up for their 2nd championship season in a row, I'm going with Livingston. Just like the last time Livingston were relegated from the Premiership, I don't see them winning the league. Glenn Whelan is in his first permanent managerial role, and in a group with Partick and Sinnosmuir, they finished 3rd, losing to both their championship opponents on penalties. But they did beat Forfar 8-0, so there is always that. Despite none of their signings standing out to me, they all seem solid enough to maintain a title fight, but one they will ultimately fail to win. That, of course, leaves the title winners being Partick Thistle. Partick finished 2nd last season, pushing St Johnstone till the final 3 games of the season, but have definitely improved on their squad this time around. Ben Dempsey, Seb Drozd, Ewan Henderson, Ethan Ingram, Ben McPherson and Oisin Smith have all joined permanently, with Fitzpatrick signing a new deal, and as of the time of writing, there are rumours about Ben Stanway potentially staying on. Seems that I might have to deal with a happy Kieran Ashton. Is it too late to change my mind? Moving on to the Premiership now, and finishing bottom, I have gone with St Mirren. After winning the League Cup last season, St Mirren's second half of the season saw them collapse, staying up thanks to Livingston being historically bad and Partick Thistle choking in the playoffs. As usual. Stephen Robinson left during that rut to go to Aberdeen, and caretaker turned permanent manager Craig McLeish does not fill me with hope, and neither has their transfer dealing so far. It's just not looking good for the Buddies going into the season. In 11th and staying up in the playoffs, I'm going with Kilmarnock. Despite topping their group, they were not convincing at all. They were saved by Stryek from defeat against Raith Rovers, needed a 93rd minute winner against Elgin, lost on penalties to Peterhead. Having actually watched them for 90 minutes, I think they might be in trouble, which is interesting as they had such a good end to last season. 10th place now, and I have Falkirk. A pretty meh League Cup that saw the Bairns finish as the worst second place team, Barney Stewart and Calvin Miller away. This season is definitely going to be a downgrade from last year's remarkable 6th place finish. Ethan Laidlaw, Craig Sibbald and Ryan Strain coming in should see them out of any trouble, however, but of course John McGlynn is linked with the vacant Scotland job, and if he was to go, I would start panicking. 9th place, and I'm going with Dundee United. Something about that League Cup defeat to Montrose tells me that Goodwin is going to get sacked at some point this season. They did end up topping their group, and Goodwin does seem to have a habit of these sort of cup defeats, but United fans don't seem too convinced about him sticking around beyond the season. No major departures, no major incomings, just a pretty mess season for United, I reckon, is coming their way. 8th place, and I am going with St Johnstone. Comfortable winners of the Championship last season, Seymour's men managed to throw away qualification thanks to a penalty defeat to East Fife, but they still look like a team that have the ability to be solidly in the mid-table range. Logan Chalmers, Rory Payton, Macaulay Tate, Toby Stewart, Matty Todd all bolster their squad, with the only big departure being Josh McPake to Hearts. 7th place, and I'm going with Dundee. I was proven very wrong about Stephen Presley, and I have now become a believer in the Presley project. Luke Graham leaving is a big blow, but a £2 million fee should be enough to improve the squad with, adding to Owen Bevan and Alan Forrest already joining. I'm looking forward to more Vamos Dundee #outlasted posts as Presley begins to take over Scottish football. In 6th place, and having a big improvement on last season, I'm going with Aberdeen. A perfect League Cup group stage under new manager Stephen Robinson, I expect them to be a more pragmatic side. Not one to challenge for the now reduced European places, but nowhere near as bad as last season. A lot of the Scandinavian section of the squad have left, and Robinson has replaced them with Lewis Smith, Guinness Walker, Brad Lyons and Lewis Mayo, all of whom should be good enough to bring Aberdeen back up the table. 5th place, and just missing out on Europe, I have gone with Motherwell. The departures of Elijah Just, Elliot Watt and Callum Ward will be big misses to Motherwell, along with Asco going to Toulouse, but there seems to be an actual coherent strategy at the club, which is a rarity among Scottish football, so they'll find replacements and I don't think they'll drop off too much. 4th place, and I'm going with Hibs. I know I'm writing this after Hibs have suffered a loss to a village youth team from Kosovo, but Hibs like to make an arse of themselves every now and then. Jason Kerr is their main arrival alongside Nathan Lowe, but they haven't really been up to much in the window as of the time of writing. I won't be surprised if they finish 5th or lower, however, if their performances like that against Malasheva continue. 3rd place now, and I have gone with Hearts. Whilst I would love to see another title fight, European football will most likely be scuppering any of those plans, but I still see them finishing in a comfortable 3rd place. Whilst half the squad has been taken to Ibrox, Wouter Franken has a proven track record in Belgium, and the Jamestown analytics machine will mean that they'll find a world beater playing in the Lithuanian top flight who may fire them to glory this time around. 2nd place now, and probably the one that will cause the most debate, I'm going with Celtic. Winning the league might just have been the worst thing Celtic could have done last season, as it means the board could just continue pretending everything is fine in regards to how they go about doing business. We've already seen multiple instances of the board messing around with transfer fees or wages, and they have only signed one player as of the time of writing, meaning we can guarantee them to do nothing until after they're knocked out of European qualifiers, and then sign a whole host of free agents. And they've gone and signed Casper Hur for a club record transfer fee of like £11-12 million. Alright, perfect timing, lads. That means that this season's Scottish Premiership champions will be Rangers. They finally have a manager who knows Scottish football in Derek McInnes. They have brought in Shanklin and Devlin from Hearts with him. Ivo Panda is replacing Butland. Ross McCrory has come in from Bristol City. Vanya Dragojevic has joined from Partizan Belgrade. If they don't collapse like they have done so many times in recent years, this year could finally be their year to win their first title since the COVID season. That's all for this video, and of course I hope you enjoyed. What are your predictions for the season? How wrong will mine be? Let us know in the comments below. Channel memberships are available with those signed up having their names on screen now. Liking, sharing and subscribing are all appreciated, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.